Hello, everybody. Welcome to a new episode of the Rent podcast. This podcast is part of Project Infinity. Today, we have a very special guest. You probably know her from the title of this video. She's the Minister of Education here in Romania. Hi, Ms. Deca. Thank you so much for being here today.
Hello, everyone, and I'm very happy that we're doing this podcast today.
Before we begin with the questions, since it's the start of the day, how are you feeling? Are you excited?
Well, it's a very good day. I'm starting it with this discussion, so I'm pretty sure it will go on to be as exciting.
Thank you. So, Ms. Deca, our first question is, what plans are in place to encourage an entrepreneurial spirit among students?
Well, first of all, for an entrepreneurial spirit, I think young people need to have financial education and develop skills which enable them to understand the current free market and also our democracies and how they exist in a global space. In this sense, we have a lot of subjects, disciplinary areas which approach financial skills, financial education, entrepreneurial skills, but also parts of fundamental disciplines which are developed in a way in which you can apply theoretical knowledge in order for you to be able to function as an active citizen in our current societies. For example, we have for high schools, we have the so-called training firms for those who apply for a high school focusing on economic skills. They can actually develop their own companies and be able to develop them, to compete in contests, and thus develop their interdisciplinary skills which allow them to become future entrepreneurs. Similarly, students have the so-called student entrepreneurial companies which not only develop their skills but help develop their colleagues' skills and perhaps also launch innovative projects later on. We have a lot of cooperation also with associations of companies which come and provide us with company managers, with experts, which can go into schools and into universities and actually talk about their own entrepreneurial experience, and that I think serves very well as a role model for young people.
Thank you.
Thank you. And also about entrepreneurial spirit and comes along with financial education. So what strategies are in place to support and encourage non-formal and extracurricular activities and financial education domain?
Well, we have a long-standing partnership in the area of financial education. Coincidentally, we just launched a national strategy for financial education up to 2030. It was a joint initiative with a number of institutions which I think help with providing the extracurricular activities, and that is Ministry of Finance, the National Bank of Romania, the Association of Banks, the Financial Supervisory Authority, and the National Authority for Consumer Protection. All of these entities provide their own learning resources, but they also develop their own projects. What we did is gather them under a national umbrella, and together with the Ministry of Finance, the Ministry of Education provides both activities within the formal curriculum, but also encourages activities which have to do with the free time. And for example, we have projects called European Money Week, Financial Education Day, set for April 11th. And for those type of activities linked with the Financial Education Day, we have also provided financial aid to schools for them to be able to organize their own projects. We have the Global Money Week and other activities which target both young people, but they also target adults, because in order to have sustainable financial education, you need to train the trainers, right? So you need to educate the teachers, but also you need to have broad financial education for citizens, for them to be able to access financial products. For example, credit cards, loans, investments, and so on. If we are to talk about a free market and a free economy, you need to have an informed public which is able to use all the instruments at its disposal.
Yeah. When I was in the 9th grade, I had observed that my older colleagues with whom I've been part of the Minister Robotics Club possessed advanced knowledge in terms of financial education, owning that to the coordinator teachers, but also to those lessons that we have learned at classes such as financial literacy and economy. So despite that, robotics also encompasses the disciplines that constitute the STEAM education. So my question for you, Ms. Deca, is what steps are being taken to promote STEAM education?
It's true. Many of the global challenges that we have now require advanced notions of STEM. And we have seen this, and based on the technological developments, the way in which our economies have developed, we have prioritized STEM education in the new legal framework. We have two new laws, one for general education, one for higher education. They have entered into force at the beginning of this school year. And in them, we have national programs for supporting STEM, both for general education, so primary, secondary, and also for higher education. That means additional funding for labs, additional bursaries for pupils and students. That means also the possibility to have integrated curriculum, especially optional courses. We also want to be able to use the infrastructure in schools. That is why we have over 1 billion euros invested in upgrading schools' infrastructure, which includes STEM laboratories, or smart labs as they are known, which basically involve robots, augmented reality, and generally providing the software needed in order to teach STEM subjects in an attractive way for young people.
And since we were talking about STEAM education, we know that for it to be possible, we need to have the necessary equipment. And so I wanted to ask you what measures are being taken to ensure that those resources are received by teachers?
Well, first of all, it's about having the materials, right? We are trying to upgrade all our science labs. We are upgrading other labs, for example, for foreign languages or for the humanities. We are definitely investing in smart labs, as I mentioned, and we are digitalizing all classrooms. So I think that's the first. If you want to be able to use modern tools in terms of teaching and learning, you need to have first the infrastructure. The second element is having the teacher skills, right? You need to train the teachers, and that is why we have included in the National Recovery and Resilience Plan funding for increasing the digital competences for the teachers. We will have an astonishing number of teachers which will learn how to teach in a modernized way, because we know that technology helps, but it needs to be human-centered. And with that, we can probably talk a lot now about the role of artificial intelligence and how that will change student-centered learning in the future.
Okay, related to teachers, as a student, as a high school student, I can say that the young generation needs good mentors, great teachers that could help them to learn their skills, to help them in the direction they want to follow for the rest of their life. So how do you address the resource shortages in many Romanian schools, and will there be enough teachers in the future?
That's an issue Romania, as well as many other countries, are grappling with. We have a teacher shortage worldwide. We have regions which have a dire teacher shortage, and I think we have disciplines in which the economy attracts very talented graduates more than the educational sector manages to. So what we have done is, first of all, change the way we do initial training for teachers and add incentives for them to choose the teaching career path. So if you're a graduate that wants to become a teacher, first of all, you have to have a pedagogical master. And in that master, 80% should be face-to-face contact with classrooms, with diverse classrooms from different environments, from different learning pathways. In that time, you will receive a scholarship which is equal to the average salary. which means that you are additionally incentivized to choose this path. Moreover, if you later on decide that you want to follow another master degree, for example, if you want to do a research master or a professional master, that can also be covered within the subsidized places that the Romanian government provides. So we are trying to increase the attractiveness of the teaching route, and also we want to make sure that teaching will be one of the top 3 professions in the future for talented graduates. If you look at the things that you can invest in order for education to become better, to increase the quality and equity, investing in teachers has the biggest return on investment. So, you know, if you are to choose between teachers, infrastructure, I don't know, digital equipment, what have you, investing in good teachers is the most beneficial investment that you can make, and that is why we have increased in a 12 months lifespan the salaries, the average salary for teachers with about 50%. For last year, the increase was over 30%. In June this year, the overall increase compared to last May will be over 50%. And that, I think, adds to the incentive to become a good teacher. But teaching is a vocational job. I think many people who choose teaching, they don't do it for the financial return. They do it for the societal return. And I'm very grateful for the talented graduates who choose to become teachers.
Thank you. Let's talk about a topic that represents another need for the young generation, their well-being. What strategies is the ministry implementing to reduce academic pressure and stress among students? And can you share any plans or future directions that the ministry has for enhancing students' well-being within the education system?
It's true. Mental health is a general issue, especially after the pandemic. There are various studies which show that young people start to feel pressured, not just by the way in which we, develop our curriculum or the way in which schools function, but also generally by the way in which society functions nowadays. First of all, we want to eliminate the stressors in schools, and that means fighting school segregation, for example, fighting discrimination, having a strategy to prevent violence and bullying in schools. I think that's very important if you want to talk about mental well-being. We have a newly launched procedure for the management of violence in schools, in which everyone has a clear role. Everyone knows what they need to do if they witness or if they are part of a violent incident. And also, I think we need to increase the access of pupils and students to support counseling, also career counseling, but also psychological counseling. Generally having a professional that you can turn to if you think you have, you're starting to show the symptoms of depression or other type of mental health issues. And that is why we have increased the number of school counselors. Last year, we have had an additional 1,200 counselors positions, which were provided for schools, and that means an increase with 50% of the number of counselors that we have available in schools. But we need to do more. We need to have more counselors in order to have at least one counselor per 500 pupils. We need to make sure that kids have an alternative, healthy way of spending their time instead of, turning to detrimental activities for their health. And this is why we're trying to push arts education, sports in school, basically making sure that they have all the elements to have a healthy lifestyle and a good work-life balance. And that includes curricular revision as well.
As we sadly know, there's big differences or huge differences between the rural and the urban education in Romania. How do you plan to address these differences?
It's true, we have very different areas, geographically, economically, socially. In Romania, we have over 1/3 of schools which are under the minimum number of pupils for them to be financially sustainable. Many of those schools are situated in far-off rural areas. More often than not, these rural areas are less financially well off than urban or small urban areas. And what we're doing, first of all, we're having the largest program to fight early school dropout. It's the national program for fighting early school dropout. We're talking about over 2,000 schools which have grants dedicated to activities which keep kids in school and attract kids in school. These activities can span from remedial education, scholarships, trips outside of their community. It's amazing how many kids have never gone outside their village, and they need to get perspective. They need to get a different line of horizon in order for them to be able, for example, to see themselves as future students in universities. There are activities linked with warm meals in schools or with helping them get to school, so covering transportation costs if they live far away from the school. Additionally, we have a program aimed to build green schools, sustainable schools in areas where you have a demographic positive curve. So we want to make sure that in areas where we have a lot of kids, we have the necessary infrastructure. I think most importantly is making sure that we have teachers which are as good as the ones that we have in big cities. Most kids which become success stories recall a particular teacher, right, who trusted them, who gave them hope, and who supported them, who gave them a small boost to move further. And I think that's very important, making sure that we have the right teachers. And another thing is working with the communities. I think where you have local authorities which care about the school, you see it immediately in the kids' results, in the kids' school results, but also in the number of young people which are supported to go to university and who then come back in the community and then contribute. And I think education is a societal concern. It's not just a concern of the Ministry of Education or of the school principal.
What are the main goals to better align the Romania's educational system of the current job market?
Well, there we have had a number of initiatives. One of them has to do with re-establishing the prestige of the professional dual route. So Romania has three pathways when you enter high school. Is the theoretical, classical one, is the vocational one, which for us includes army, teaching, arts, and what else for vocational? I'm missing something. Well, there's a fourth.
Engineering? Yeah.
No, we have the professional route, which we call technological, which in the Anglo-Saxon world is called the VET sector. The technological route will become a route which is developed only with partners in the labor market. We want to emulate the dual professional route that we see in German or in Germanic cultures. It's the route that has a larger number of practice hours, so hours which you spend at the company or in labs, which allow you to do activity-based learning. And also it provides you with the opportunity to learn according to the latest technologies and that you are immediately able to be inserted in the labor market. We want to have a complete route, which basically means that you can start from level 3 of qualifications, so after 3 years, they go in professional school and go all the way up to PhDs. So up until now, you were limited, right? You could finish a professional school of 3 years or a technological high school, and that meant 4 years. Now, we want to make sure that kids which start on this route according to their potential can go all the way to higher education and even do professional PhDs if they so wish. Or they can decide to go into the labor market for a few years and then decide to come back into the formal education system. So that's one measure. Another one is to have more advanced competence forecasting systems and student tracking system. We have a project called Reconnect, which aims at connecting the databases, the educational databases and the labor databases, so that we know what a graduate did in the labor market and then by doing big data analysis, understanding what the tendencies are, what the trends are, and what the competencies of the future in Romania will be in order for us to be able to adapt the educational offer.
Thank you for your answer. There has formed an AI bubble in the past few years. The large tech companies, the big investors are betting on the growth of artificial intelligence usage in this new AI era. So the schools in Romania, I think they should keep up with this macroeconomic trend. So how do you view the role of AI in the educational process, and what initiatives are there to integrate these tools more effectively in schools?
Well, first of all, we need to sort of provide the basics, so do a bit of AI literacy. So this is why in June 2022 we have introduced a new elective discipline in the syllabus for high school, and that's called Introduction to Automatic Learning, Machine Learning. So that provides the basics. Now, in addition to that, we want to develop a standardized testing system, which, in my view, needs to incorporate elements of AI in order to make sure that if you test students annually, you are able to generate then a recovery plan or a learning plan for additional performance, which is geared to the learning acquisitions of the specific pupil. So you need to personalize education, and AI can help you do that. It can help you increase equity, so it can generate remedial plans. We now had the first round of generalized digital evaluation for national exams. We know what every kid knows. We know what kids in a school know. We know what kids in a part of the country know. So we are now able, I think, to generate recovery plans geared to the learning gaps that students have, and I think that's very important, especially after the pandemic. Secondly, I think AI can help us guide students better. So in terms of counseling, AI can look at everything that you have gained educationally and otherwise, and then be able to advise you on the best professions for you, what matches your potential. And in this sense, we need to have human-centered AI. And this is something which both the European Union, but also other bodies like the OECD, like UNESCO, have been talking about. Artificial intelligence needs to remain a tool for human development. And in this sense, I think it's very unlikely that artificial intelligence would replace teachers. Teachers will probably have a different mission in the future. Teachers will need to be able to use AI tools, but I really think that education needs to also develop empathy or creativity or teamwork, and that can only be developed by human interaction.
I liked what you said about this relationship between AI and teachers, and we know that this is something that also the OECD has talked about, and the OECD also emphasizes the importance of those transformative competencies. And for the ones at home that aren't familiar with this term, it basically tries to focus on things that helps in all areas of life. So for example, self-development, well-being, and so on. And so how can we integrate these competencies into our education process? How can the concept of OECD Learning Compass be incorporated into our daily school activities?
It's true, we are talking more and more, we're shifting from core competences or transversal competences to transformative competences, right? This is what the OECD Learning Compass 2030 defines. It's basically the knowledge, skills, attitudes, and beliefs which help us navigate transformations in society and basically try to change our own societies ourselves for a better life. And here I think we are shifting, right? We are shifting from learning about climate change to sustainable learning. We're changing from schools which are no longer energy consumers but energy producers to schools which have a sustainable approach in every practice that they have. It's the same with the learning system. I think it involves curricular reform, right? We need to adapt. I think it involves a new type of relationship between pupils and their mentors. I think teachers are increasingly becoming facilitators, guides, counselors, trusted persons, rather than unique sources of information. I think that ship has sailed. And finally, I think we are realizing that we can use technology and the latest scientific developments to have both, right? To have individualized learning, personalized learning, but at the same time maintain a high standard for educating our populations. Before, there was this tension, right, between equity and quality. They said if it's very selective, then the quality increases. I think now if we are able to use all the new concepts that we have and all the new tools that we have, we can reach both. And I think that's the dream, right, for education, achieving both excellence and inclusiveness. And in the end, this is what we need. We cannot afford to lose human potential, especially in Romania. We don't have very much of it, and migration and demography don't help us very much. So what we do is talent. What we do have is talent, and if we have talent, we need to be able to boost it. And that we do by cultivating these transformative competences, by making sure that our young people are able to withstand all the changes that have hit us, the future ones, and perhaps also make sure that they change societies in a way which make them better than the ones we have. That's the dream, right, of parents.
Thank you so much for answering these questions today, and in the end we'd like to invite you to talk a bit with the kids at home or the students and give them a word of encouragement. You can talk right there into the camera.
Well, I think you've heard this a lot of times, right? Just be yourself, you're enough. The truth is, every single one of us is different. And I believe that having a society in which everyone would be the same or would achieve the same goals would be extremely boring and extremely limited. And I encourage you to learn about all the new opportunities that you have. I think too few people understand all the support measures that are in place for them to advance, to reach their potential. Experiment everything that you can experiment and then choose your own path. Make it your own, and be assured that the educational systems, adults in general, in their greatest majority, are there to help you. So just, trust and make sure that you take advantage of everything that life has to offer.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.